Alright chaps, welcome back to my final I would say final installment of this DLC preview, but I probably shouldn't say that because this was released 5th of October, it's the 19th today, and there may well be more DLC dev blogs before then, so potentially the last, maybe penultimate. Anyway, the Alp. The upcoming Beasts and Exploration DLC will add a variety of new beasts to the world of Battle Brothers. We want to provide a good mix of opponents that are straightforward to fight, and opponents that offer a more complex challenge which can't be solved with heavy armor alone. This week we'll take a look at the second and last spellcaster of the expansion coming soon to haunt your dreams, the Alp. So in German folklore, the Alp is a malicious creature responsible for nightmares. In fact, to this day, the German word for nightmare is Albtraum. It shouldn't be a surprise then that the themes for the Alp in Battle Brothers are sleep and nightmares. The Alp is a pale and haggard creature. It encroaches on settlements in the cover of night, invading the sleep of its helpless inhabitants with ghastful visions, and feeding on the fear and anguish of its victims like a parasite. Scholars speculate that Alps didn't always look and behave like they do now. Most Alps have eye sockets, but no eyes, and mouths with teeth, but only a rudimentary digestive system. Their pale skin feels like old parchment, their bones are frail, and their insides are dark and show signs of decay. Perhaps the Alp is the victim of an ancient curse, or perhaps it simply evolved from a different creature to the nocturnal predator it is now. Whatever it is, don't fall asleep. The Alp has two synergizing skills. The first one is called Sleep and is an area of effect, AoE, holy shit, sleep spell that can have multiple targets at once fall into an unnatural sleep. The spell can be resisted with a successful resolve check by those determined enough to stay awake, but anyone failing it will gain the sleeping status effect. Sleeping characters cannot act, and they can't evade or block attacks. There's a chance that characters will awaken on their own each turn, based on their resolve and on for how long they've been asleep already. In addition, taking damage will wake a character immediately. Most importantly, however, any characters next to them can use the new Wake Ally skill to reliably wake them, making cooperation and smart positioning essential when trying to beat an Alp. The second skill of the Alp is called Nightmare, and can only be cast on a single target which is currently affected by the sleeping status effect. A character trapped in one of these unnatural nightmares cannot act, and, as dreadful visions slowly eat away at their sanity, will continually lose hit points each turn, the amount of which depends on their resolve. Unlike with the sleeping status effect, a character will never awake on their own, and not even taking damage will break the nightmare's hold. The only way to make it stop and save a character from eventually dying in their sleep is a nearby ally using the Wake Ally skill, because only sleeping characters can be affected. You can see at a glance who is threatened by the Alp, and there is a clear counterplay denying the Alp the opportunity of using its most powerful skill. Alps feed on the fear and terror of their victims they haunt, and grow stronger by it. But the only way they can actually hurt someone is in their sleep. The more characters sleeping and suffering from nightmares on the battlefield, the otherwise physical body of the Alp shifts into the realm of dreams, where he is untouchable. Alps have relatively fragile bodies and no means to fight in melee at all, but existing partly in the dreams of their victims, they can become very hard to kill. Mastering your own fears and not letting your brothers succumb to sleep, then, becomes essential in order to take away an Alp's source of power, lest you want to fight a nightmare come manifest. The first thing I'm thinking about this is that the sleep is AoE. So if I know I'm going into a fight against Alps, I'm going to want to take my usual formation and split it up as much as I can. Maybe like groups of two. Two guys space, two guys space, two guys space. So he can never make more than 2 or maybe 4 at a time fall asleep. And then you just rush him. What's going to make it quite tricky is when you have to fight multiples of these things. This is also another reason why resolve needs to be higher. So in previous campaigns, I've left my brother's resolve at around 40. And I think this is a justification of getting it up to 50. And hell, I mean, considering the fact that like this is dependent on resolve, as is the skills of the witch, you could actually have a pretty damn good argument for taking that resolve boosting perk and getting everybody's resolve up to like 60, 65. The problem is with that though, that would have to be at the expense of melee skill, melee defense, or fatigue. Lots to think about. I do also think that, assuming you're not fighting too many of these Alps, then brothers that have adrenaline are going to be good. Because as long as they don't get made to go asleep, they can run forward, adrenaline, and then get forward and attack before this thing can do anything. But then that brother will be exhausted, so you'd need recover, and okay, last but not least, Dev Blog 108, Consumables. As you've learned in our dev blog about crafting, you'll soon be able to create potions. How do these fit into the game and the game world, and how do they work? And what about the ability to paint shields and helmets while we're at it? Yes please, I've been moaning about that for ages. All this and more in this week's edition of our dev blog for the upcoming Beasts and Exploration DLC. Let's go. So there are two types of consumables you'll be able to use. The first one you're already familiar with. Take, for example, Antidote or Goblin Poison into combat. Use them in combat, benefit from them in combat. Apart from adding lots of new consumables, there's one thing we're changing about these in general. They no longer go into the accessory slot, but instead can be used from any of the bag slots. Hallelujah! More justification for bags and belts. This way, it's a lot more convenient to carry and use things like bandages without having to switch things around in the inventory. And using accessories like War Dogs no longer prevents you from also having bandages. Oh, that's so good. The second and new type of consumables are those used exclusively on the world map. They can't be equipped by your characters, but while on the world map, you can drag them onto the currently selected character to use them on this particular character. These include armor attachments, potions, and paint items. You can identify these types of consumables by the plus on their inventory icon. In here. And there's also a new filter category so that they don't get lost between all your other positions. Let's take a more detailed look on potions and paint items then. Potions and drugs. Battle Brothers has always been low fantasy, and we've deliberately established this asymmetry of a mercenary company composed of ordinary men, led by the player, who sometimes have to fight even supernatural enemies with their earthly means. That's a pillar of the game's setting, and it's not going to change. That said, we still believe that in a quasi-medieval world there's a place for alchemy and potions while keeping things grounded for the player. Take the Potion of Knowledge. It's a fancy name, and what it promises borders on the mystical. Take a look at the accompanying status effect, and you'll see that things aren't always what they seem. It's a matter of perspective, and it's how we're handling potions in Battle Brothers. They're essentially drugs. So, with that established, here's the deal. You'll be able to craft both potions for use in combat, as well as potions for use on the world map. Potions for use in combat give benefits such as a temporary bonus to a specific attribute. Oh yes baby, like ale that's going to improve resolve. That's super important. Let the user ignore freshly suffered injuries or see at night. Potions for use on the world map include faster experience gain, as you've seen, wound treatment, and one particular effect that many people have been asking for a long time. Of course, the more powerful the potion, the more rare the ingredients, and because all of these are essentially drugs, there's always the chance of overindulgence and addiction. Now here is not the best, but my absolute favorite thing coming. God, I'm so glad they're bringing this in. Paint items. Another type of consumable which can't be crafted, but can be bought and looted, are items with which to paint your shields and helmets in the colors of your company. Helpful also, perhaps, to establish specific color schemes for specific roles in your company. Hallelujah! Praise Overhype Studios and Orange Jesus. Now finally, my beloved war pigs can all be decked out in their fine red and green. Oh god, I can't wait. This could be so good. I hope it's not too expensive though. I really hope that these designs and paints are going to be cheap, but you can do that quite often. So, looking at these consumables here, that looks like an armor painty type thing. Plus armor for a war dog. Don't know what that is. These will up attributes of some sort. I love the fact that you can ignore freshly suffered injuries. Oh, excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And this is going to be much better for us once we hit the later game as well. Once you have money to stockpile things like, you know, treat a wound while out in the field, or, you know, stockpile ale that your guys can drink to increase their resolve when you know you're fighting an enemy that's going to test your resolve, that kind of thing. Super, super, super cool. God, I can't wait. And I like these potions of knowledge as well, because once we actually are able to get to the part of the game where our early game nerds, frankly, have gotten strong enough that we have stabilized and gotten a lot of money, and we start searching for super high value and high level brothers. Once you get those guys, I'm assuming you can use potions of knowledge and you can send them to the training hall, so they're going to level up a lot. Man, this is so cool. God, I can't wait. Cannot wait. So, okay, that's everything so far. Well, as of the 19th of October, or well, consumables. The Alp is going to be interesting to fight. I really hope that the Alp doesn't come along with additional enemies, because fighting them by themselves is going to be hard enough. But if, for example, this Alp comes with, like, you know, dire wolves or whatever, that's going to be so nasty. The legendary locations I am looking forward to seeing, and I'm looking forward to changing the way I play in the early game to be more aggressive, take more risks, to explore these places early on. Oh, so many good changes. Trying out brothers. There's so many quality of life changes being made. It's so good. Praise Overhype Studios and praise RNGesus. Can't wait. Okay, now I have to go back to my sad existence of there not being Battle Brothers DLC to play. Alright friends, as always, let me know in the comments what you think about what I've said. Anything you want to add? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are you looking forward to most? And I would ask, what do you think should our first company be once the full DLC drops? But I think it has to be the War Pigs. The War Pigs are a legendary company that went the furthest out of all my playthroughs. The other option is the 13th Legion, who were pretty damn good too. And I mean, the Dawnbringers had a pretty pretty terrible run, but I think it's got to be the War Pigs. Anyway, feel free to leave some comments. As always, I'm Stobbie149. I cannot wait for this DLC to drop. Oh my lord. Bring it on. I would buy this game again if I had to. Praise RNGesus. Praise Overhype Studios. Thanks for watching, friends. I'll see you next time.